So we talked about, or mentioned, I guess, earlier, searching out death in Seven Pantoums.
Yes.
I wonder, would you mind reading just an excerpt, maybe number 2?
Number 2, yeah, no problem.
I think it's we're talking about wordplay. We probably should have a little bit in here.
Sure, no problem. Let me see where this ends. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is the second Pantoum. So the Pantoums, it starts off with searching for her grave, and then the second Pantoum is about my mother, about her life. And so the Pantoums go back and forth between the cemetery and her life. 2. In girlhood, you inhabited the winding staircases along Avenue de l'Hôtel de Ville. Snowflakes imprinted your tongue with a desire to speak to the future. Raindrops pinned your limbs to the past. Along Avenue de l'Hôtel de Ville, snowflakes imprinted helixes in the bloodstream. Laughter erupted from raindrops pinned to your limbs. To the past, you concocted prayers in hope of warding off hexes in the blood. Steaming laughter erupted from the milkman's horse and the yeshiva boys for whom you concocted prayers in hope of warding off the evil eye. Your mother's hand struck you daily. The milkman's horse and the yeshiva boy formed a procession, trudging under the observance of the evil eye. Your mother's hand struck you daily. A funeral for the brother you never knew, visited as a procession, undermining tragedy in an observance of guilt. The shadow of the cross on the mountain crept like a funeral. The brother you never knew, visited as bones sprouting from a patch of dirt behind the tenement. Guilt shadowed the cross. On the mountain crest you picked wildflowers and put an ear to the rumbling of bones. On a patch of dirt behind the tenement, saints and tzaddiks rolled dice to settle their grudges. You picked wildflowers and tuned an ear to a rambling tongue in a desire to speak to the future. Sons of tzaddiks rolled dice back to the shtetls. Gradually, the girlhood you inhabited blew across the windy staircases.
That's terrific.
Thanks.
The line, "The brother you never knew visited, as bones sprouting from a patch of dirt behind the tenement."
Right.
That stuck with me.
That's part of a family history. That is a real thing. So if you read My Lady of Steerage, you'll get more of this story because it's the basis of how I formed that whole novel. The brother she never knew, my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was from Romania. My maternal grandmother was from Odessa. My grandfather ended up going to Odessa, and I believe he was, he as a young man, he was a tailor, and so I think he was apprenticing as a tailor. And that's where he met my grandmother. They got married. They lived in Odessa. When the war came, he was conscripted. He became a tailor for the Russian army.
Oh, wow.
And then when and they had a son, a boy named Baruchel. And so when it looked like he was going to be sent to the front, he found a man with a boat, and he and my grandmother and Baruchel, who was probably still a young, I don't know if he was an infant, he was a young boy still.
Right.
And they hired this boat to take them back to take to Romania. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have. So he was leaving the army, right? He was, and so there's a story that my uncle told me, which I put in the novel, of the guys who were going to take her wanted my grandmother's wedding ring, and she couldn't get it off, and they threatened to cut her finger off. And so she managed to get it off and had to give it to them, even though he'd paid already. Mm-hmm. So they were taking advantage of him. So they brought him along. They lived, from what I understand, I don't know how much of this is. It's all secondhand history. But they lived sort of in the woods, and there's a whole story about what went on. But they eventually did get money. My grandfather's father, so my great-grandfather, was living in Montreal, sent them money to come to Canada. Mm-hmm. And so they took a train. They had to get to Cherbourg, France, to take the boat to Montreal, or to, I can't remember where they went. In my novel, they go to Halifax. Anyway, somewhere along the way, the boy died of diphtheria.
Oh, wow.
And so my grandmother wouldn't get on the boat. They had to give her a needle. Anyway, so she, and this is part of my family lore, she blamed my mother. My mother was an infant when that happened. She was born in Romania.
Okay.
And so the boy died. And my grandmother would not even hold my mother. And so a woman named Mariasa took care of my mother on the boat. And Mariasa is the name of the main character in Our Lady of Steerage. And so my grandmother, I would say for the most part, and this comes from my sister who talked to me about it, and from my uncle, she treated my mother not well. And so this is the brother she never knew. That's who we're talking about here. That's the historical brother we never knew.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
So the bones sprouting. When I read that, I thought
it's a bit of poetry.
Oh, it absolutely is, and it sort of resonated for a couple of reasons. One is what does sprout from bones? Well, it's our memories or our stories that are told about that person. There's also this almost glimmer of hope in that, from death comes life. That when we all go, that energy is going to be used by another organism to sustain its life, and then that will go on to sustain another. And so death sustains life in a way.
Right. And
then lastly, I am a tremendous horror movie buff, and bones sprouting behind a tenement, just mwah. Yeah, it's terrific. That's interesting because this plays into another question and another reading if we have time.
Sure.
There's a poem, half a poem, and the first line you pose the question, am I the only Jewish writer on Prince Edward Island?
Right.
And you mentioned there wasn't necessarily culture shock, but when you first moved here, but that poem does suggest that there might be that there was an adjustment, or that there was a change that was going through. And I wonder if maybe you could give us a little reading of it.
Okay, I'll read it, and I can tell you.
Yeah. I'm posing the question and asking you to read at the same time.
Yeah, no, and I'll give you some background.
For
sure.
Sure.
Hold on. Oh, good. Okay. Half a poem. Am I the only Jewish writer on Prince Edward Island? I met one or two others, and I hear there are even more lurking about. Was macht the fellow exiles? Where's the temple? I figured as much. So I guess I've traded in my 40 years in the desert for a few acres of wooded land beside a saltwater river. So I guess I'm supposed to start worshipping trees now and slaking my thirst on Manischewitz brine. So I guess I'll have to ask my 4 friggin' questions at a new Glasgow lobster Seder, with a 5th question added for good measure. Why is this claw different from all other claws? So I guess I'm supposed to start from scratch and make it up as I go along. Instead, I turn on the television only to find a documentary on Irving Layton. There he is, sitting in some senior's home, his hair windswept and white as a Montreal street corner in February, his eyes crossing inward, and his sadly confused smile. There's his ex-wife combing the whole riddled Sinai wasteland of his mind for any drop of memory. Hey, Irving, remember what Cohen said? There are no diamonds in the mine. Hey, Irv, remember how you used to scratch your balls in front of the whole country? Or how you took Jesus' foreskin and squashed it on the end of your boxer's nose like it was a piece of gum you were caught chewing in class? Tell me, Irv, who once said that a poem is only half a poem and the ear is the other half? Irv? Hey, Irv. Irving! I may as well be talking to the television. I may as well be the only Jewish writer on PEI. I may as well start looking for the other half of this poem.
There are some images in that I laughed when I first read them, and I'm laughing again after you.
I read that poem at a Jewish literary festival in Hamilton, and it brought down the house. They loved it.
I love the Glasgow Lobster Seder.
They went crazy for that.
Oh, and why is this claw different from all the others?
All the claws, yeah.
That's excellent. I'm sorry. So, how long ago did you write half a poem?
Okay, I must have written that one again. It would have been somewhat recently. So when I first got here, I didn't even expect there to be other Jews on PEI, and I gotten through a whole thing. I got in touch with J.J. Steinfeld, and we got to sort of know each other, and so that was, in fact, the original first line was, I am the only Jewish writer in Prince Edward Island, which apparently I understand kind of bent a few noses out of place. Anyway, I remember when I was doing it for the first edition, my editor said, can we change that line? And I said, yeah. He said, do you mind if it's a question? I went, no, that works. So we made it a question. Yeah, so I guess I would have written it. So if I was here in 2000, it would have been like 2001, 2002. I had only just found out that there was no synagogue.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, and I don't know why there isn't. And I think we talked about this during your book launch with that's
right, with the whole novel about about building a synagogue.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And we have mosques. We have any number of churches for any number of Christian denominations. We have Buddhist temples. We don't have a synagogue.
No, and we have a fairly substantial Jewish community. I think it's 100. I don't know how many. But and I remember asking the question because quite a few of the Jewish community was at the book launch for Samson Grief.
Yeah.
No one could really give me an answer. And no one said, or they said, well, it's been talked about, but no one could say why. So it's a bit of a mystery. So yeah, I don't know why that is, but I found it fascinating. It's so fascinating. I wrote a whole novel about it. So.
That's true. So when you came to PEI, you said like there wasn't a whole lot of, there wasn't a culture shock necessarily, but it does sound like you had half a poem. You were looking for that audience to listen.
Certainly.
And I get the sense as, we're going through that poem, even though it is funny, there is that subtext of someone who's looking for community. What was that like at the time?
Well, it wasn't something I was searching out like desperately, let's say. The thing is, where I live and where we live, I live now with my wife Thelma. It's somewhat closed in It's
Right.
a little, and it's less so now because we have more neighbors, but there was something about it that I really loved. That was, I felt like I was cut off from the world, and because I had come to PEI, I said, this is where I'm going to really start working on writing. I thought, well, this is great. This is where it is, and that was and of course, this was 2001, excuse me. I keep saying 2000. It was 2001. And so, of course, when September came, 2001, the Twin Towers came down, I suddenly realized, I'm not as cut off as I am. I'm not as hidden as I thought I was.
Right.
And so, and that was the beginning for Samson Grief, I think, as I've mentioned once. But it was, I wanted to, because I was there to seriously think about or seriously try to develop my writing, I wanted to know about what kind of writing community there was. So I always had one foot. I don't drive. That's part of it. Okay. And so getting to Charlottetown was not always easy. And so I had 1 foot out of the community and 1 foot in the community. And so, when you say looking for that community, I found it, and yet I didn't need it. I liked it, and I got what I could from it, and I made friendships where I could, such as you. And
That's right.
yeah, and so, it was there and it wasn't there. So, and to me, that's just part of being a writer. It's like, because I wasn't born here, being called from away. People take that as they get upset. I love it. I don't mind being from. I think as a writer, all writers are from away. Mm-hmm. All writers, we're a bit on the outside looking in. And I do also call myself an islander by choice because I really don't want to live anywhere else. So, I think community, it's there if you want it, and if you don't, if that's okay with you.
You say that you've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're kind of maintaining some separation, just look on the outside looking in. Is that so that you can people watch, so that you can is it meant to enhance your writing or to teach you about how individuals work?
I think it's just part of my personality. That is part of it. Part of being a writer is observing.
Yes.
And so you're always observing. You're looking around. You're always making mental notes, and it comes back hopefully when you need it, or you write it down. I'm not good at taking notes or things. Everything is always mental for me, and so I think that's just part of who I am, and I think that's what makes me a writer. It's nurture and nature. There's no division. It's all the same.
Well, that's terrific. We've reached kind of the end of my questions. Almost.
Well, we're almost, I think, at that time.
Could I have planned it better?
You couldn't have. You did a very good job.
Well, thank you very much. But I do have one more question.
Sure.
And it's kind of about, what's kind of next for Steven Mayoff?
What is next? I always ask myself that. What is next for you? Well, I'm always working on stuff.
Yeah.
I'm working on a novel, and I have 2 other manuscripts, 3 other manuscripts, 4 other manuscripts that are sort of looking for a home. One of them I think will find a home. In fact, you've read it.
I have.
Yes, and so if I think it is going to get published, possibly next year, I hope, and I'll be calling on you again. So, but I have a novel on the go. I have more poems that I'm always writing. I write lyrics, even though I've not been working with a composer, and what I've been doing is turning them into spoken pieces, and nice. I post them on all my media, social media, and on YouTube. I've got some short stories that look like a collection in the works.
Nice.
working on a project, a theater project with a friend of mine, which I don't want to say too much about, but that's fun. So there's always something going on.
Oh gosh, so 2 years ago we did the launch of Samson Grief, and then you were talking about another book on the way. There was the possibility of another poetry manuscript or another edition of it, which we have here.
Yep.
And there was a theater production happening, I recall.
That's right. In Toronto, it was called Dion, a rock opera.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a rock opera I wrote with Ted Dykstra, who was a longtime friend and collaborator. We used to write songs for a while, and we stopped writing songs for a while just because he's very busy. He runs a theater in Toronto called the Coal Mine. And but when COVID came in 2020, he wrote to me and said, "You want to do a little writing?" And so we wrote a couple of songs together, and then he had this idea for a rock opera based on the Bacchae, which is a Greek tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrote that and developed it over a couple of years, looking for a theater. We couldn't find the theater we wanted, or a theater that he liked and the director liked. And so we ended up doing it at Coal Mine. So it's a very small, Coal Mine's a very small space.
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't have the rock band we wanted, but we did have keyboards and bass, and it was, it was sort of a stripped down version of the opera. And I believe it was pretty good. We got a lot of good reviews, and I think it sold out most nights as far as I know. And so there was that.
Terrific.
Yeah.
How do you juggle everything?
I don't know. I don't do anything else. So.
Right. Well, what's it like, your day-to-day writing process?
Day to day, it's really just, I wake up, I don't know, I try to wake up. Morning is a waking up process of going for walks, doing some meditation, reading, surfing on the web. I try to get my whatever I'm reading in the morning. And then I, usually get some writing done. It's either in the afternoon or in the evening. I think those are the times. Every now and then I'll do a little writing in the morning, but it doesn't happen often.
What are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading short stories by E.M. Forster.
Okay.
Really wonderful. We just watched, Thelma and I just watched, oh dear, now I'm trying to remember what it was. Howard's End. Howard's End was made into a movie in the 90s, but it was made in this century into a 4-part miniseries. Mm-hmm. So we watched the miniseries. It's fantastic. Really, really good. So I want to read some E.M. Forster, and I'm always reading something. I've got a lot of big, tall to-read pile. So.
I do too.
Yeah, who doesn't?
It's a real problem. Well,
there it is.
There we are.
Here we are.
That was terrific.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Man, this was fun.
This was a lot of fun.
We will do it again.
All right, that's Swinging Between Water and Stone, the second edition, printed by Galleon Books.
Yep.
By Steven Mayoff. And go pick up a copy.
Please do.
All right.